The midterm elections were about 3 weeks away, and each year, a variety of issues drive voters to the polls. But this year, one of them is starting to stand out, and it's climate change. At least half of voters in a recent Washington Post poll said climate change is either very important or one of the most important issues in their vote for Congress specifically. So joining us now to discuss this is Washington Post climate change reporter Maxine Joslow. Maxine, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to ask you kind of the numbers. I heard that it was about 1,006 randomly polled for this. So break down the numbers for us. Were there any differences among party lines here?
So this is a Washington Post ABC News poll that I wrote about for the Washington Post Climate 202 newsletter this morning. There were some stark divides along party lines. Among adult respondents to the poll, about 8 in 10 Democrats, or 79% of Democrats, say climate change is at least very important in their vote. That's compared with 46% of independents and 27% of Republicans.
So Maxine, your reports say that how voters of color are disproportionately impacted by climate change issues. Discuss that with us. What do you mean by, people of color disproportionately impacted?
So the poll showed, similar to past polls, that Black Americans, Hispanic Americans are more likely to say climate change is important in their vote than white Americans. And those findings come as a growing body of research shows that communities of color are disproportionately exposed to not only the impacts of climate change, but other environmental hazards. They're more likely to live near hazardous waste or near facilities that emit harmful air pollution. In Louisiana's Cancer Alley, for example, communities of color are more likely to live near cancer-causing facilities that make plastic and other products.
Also, you talked about Republicans specifically. You pinpointed them to say that the Republicans who work on climate initiatives and how they specifically do at the polls. Why did you want to bring that issue up, and what is the reality of that issue?
I was interested in diving into that issue more because the poll showed that only 27% of Republican respondents said climate change was important to their vote, compared with 79% of Democrats. So I was interested in seeing, well, for the congressional Republicans who are prioritizing climate change, are they suffering politically for that? And what an analysis by outside groups, two conservative climate groups, the Climate Leadership Council and Americans for Carbon Dividends, found is that Republicans who have joined the Conservative Climate Caucus, it's a group in Congress made up of Republicans to discuss climate issues, have overwhelmingly won their primaries. They have a 62-5 win-loss record in their primary elections this year.
All right, interesting stuff. Maxine Joslow with the Washington Post. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.